What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we're going to be comparing the Samsung Galaxy A30s to the new Samsung Galaxy A31 to see if it's worth the upgrade. Now, the A30s is sort of an interesting phone for a couple of reasons. First off, this device was released towards the end of last year. It's really only a few months old now, and a lot of folks probably just picked up this phone, which is sort of unfortunate timing, given that the A31 has now hit the market. However, the A30s is kind of a weird phone because it's an upgrade to the A30 in some ways, actually a downgrade from the A30 in other ways, and it may not necessarily even be a direct competitor or fair comparison when stacked up against the new A31. There's a lot to consider here, and I'll do my best to unpack it all, but enough talking, let's just go ahead and jump into it here and see what these phones have to offer. First off, let's talk about pricing and availability. Like I said, the A30s came out in September of 2019, which makes this phone about 8 months old. And depending on where in the world you're located, you might have paid anywhere between $220 and $300, maybe even a little bit more for this phone. Right now though, the A30s seems to have settled to just over $200 on places like Amazon. There are a couple of listings that range from about $212 to $221 with like an SD card bundled in, and that's the price range I'll use for this comparison. The A31, on the other hand, was just launched, and at least right now, this device retails for between $250 and $260, similar to where the A30s was kind of priced originally. Realistically, going with the A30s will likely save you a little bit of money, maybe $20 or $30, though for all intents and purposes, midway through 2020 right now, these phones are still priced pretty close to one another, so that's definitely something to consider. And by the way, if you are interested in doing some comparison shopping of your own, or maybe want to pick up one of these devices for yourself, I will have links down below to where you can buy these phones at their cheapest current prices, so be sure to check down there so you don't miss out on any good deals. Physically, both of these phones look pretty similar, and while we maybe didn't get the totally new redesign with the A31 like we had hoped, there are a couple of design changes that I think modernize this phone just a bit. One aspect that has remained the same though is the materials. Because these phones are still A-series phones, which is Samsung's budget line, they are made from an all-plastic housing. The shiny finish on both phones is made to mimic glass, and overall, I do think they're great looking phones, but you don't get any upgrades going with the A31. It is still a budget build. The fit and finish is a little different, and actually the overall design more closely resembles the more expensive A51 and A71 phones now, which I think is kind of nice. And a couple other things you might notice too, the A31 has a slightly sharper rectangular body, which I think makes the phone appear taller, even though the dimensions are pretty close. They're off by a couple millimeters in every direction between the two phones, but nothing dramatic. The biggest change actually is with the weight. The A31 is almost a full ounce heavier than the A30s, but both visually and in the hand, both the A30s and the A31 are very similar phones. Up front, the only thing you'll really notice here is the fact that the A31 gets a slightly smaller notch for the front camera, while the A30s has that V-shaped cutout that's more elongated across the top. And in this case, I definitely like the A31's look better. The rest of the design with the screens though are mostly the same, with similarly sized bezels all around, and both phones still retaining a slightly larger lower chin area. Like I said already, I think most people are disappointed with the fact that the A31 didn't get a proper Infinity O camera cutout, slimmer bezels, or an actually refreshed design, but honestly, what we do get here I think is still pretty solid for a 2020 budget device. Taking a look around at everything else, both phones have the same SIM and SD card tray located on the left side. On the right, you'll find the volume switches and power buttons. Down below, there's the same headphone jack, USB-C charging port, and single speaker setup. And around back, of course, you have the camera modules. Obviously, we've got some differences here, and I'll go more in depth with these changes in just a minute. Underneath the displays, both phones have an in-display fingerprint reader, which is pretty nice. Now, what I'm about to say might be controversial, but this is just what I've personally found in my own testing, the A30S's fingerprint reader seems to be consistently faster than the A31's. The reason for that, I believe, is because these phones do have different displays, so it makes sense that there might be a difference, though I'm surprised it's in this way. For whatever reason, the A30S just seems to get the job done better. Now, conversely, with Face Unlock, it's the A31 that is often faster this time around. Now, it's actually not every single time. More often than not, they're actually pretty close, but the A31 seems to have the edge every once in a while. While we are talking about a fraction of a second with both unlocking methods, which probably isn't a huge deal, it is at least something worth considering. Now, let's actually talk about the displays themselves on these two phones, because we're really dealing with two completely different things. First off, the A30S offers a 1560 by 720 resolution screen. It packs about 268 pixels per inch into its 6.4 inch form factor, but even at 720p resolution, it is still a Super AMOLED panel. The A31, on the other hand, is a full 2400 by 1080 resolution, cramming significantly more pixels per inch, 411, into the same 6.4 inch form factor, and it too is a Super AMOLED panel. With this comparison, there's sort of two sides to the story. If we're talking quality and resolution, obviously the A31 is going to have the advantage. It's a sharper, more crisp looking picture in all accounts because of the higher resolution, no matter what you're looking at. Text, images, YouTube videos, games, whatever it is, it's going to look better on the A31. And to be completely honest, I think most anyone who looks at these phones side by side from a normal viewing distance would be able to tell that. But you could also make the argument that going with a lower resolution has some advantages. Because the phone isn't pushing so many pixels, you may be getting better battery life, and you may be able to utilize the other internal specs like the processor and RAM for other tasks. And in some instances, a lower resolution display on a comparable phone would sometimes mean it's priced lower, but in this case, the A30S doesn't offer too much of a price advantage. To be completely honest though, I don't know that any of those so-called advantages of a 720p display mean you should choose the A30S over the A31. They're both AMOLED screens, which is awesome, and they both look great, but for practically the same price, get the A31 if the display is at all important to you. It's the better choice, and I don't see any real reason to consider the A30S in this regard. Realistically, I'm not entirely sure why Samsung even decided to put a 720p screen in the A30S at all, since the A30 even had a 1080p display. If anyone can enlighten me on that, feel free to let me know in the comments, but I really just don't understand it. When it comes to the internal specs, once again, we've got some differences here like you might expect. First off, with the batteries, the A30S packs a 4000 mAh capacity, while the A31 offers a 5000 mAh battery inside. Now again, there's sort of 2 points to make. The higher resolution display on the A31 and more powerful internal specs might require a bigger battery to keep all that extra stuff powered, but in real world use, I'm seeing better battery life overall on the A31 anyway by at least an hour or two, so I don't consider that a real argument. When it comes to battery life and power, the A31 is just the clear winner. And when you need to juice up, both phones utilize the 15 watt fast charging standard to do so. Powering the A30S is the Exynos 7904 processor paired with the Mali G71 GPU and a choice of either 3 or 4 gigabytes of RAM. The A31 has the MediaTek Helio P65 processor paired with the Mali G52 GPU and either 4 or 6 gigabytes of RAM. Both phones run Android 10 and Samsung's updated One UI 2, and while the A31 is technically going to be the more powerful device on paper, the difference I think isn't always so clear. When launching stock Android apps and just generally interacting with the UI, the phones are pretty close in load times. The A31 has a slight advantage usually, but every once in a while, with a web page or a third-party app, the A30S will actually come out ahead. I think this is kind of surprising. I guess I was expecting a bit more, but remember, the A30S isn't that old of a phone after all. It hasn't even been out for a year yet, so the performance difference realistically, I guess shouldn't be that drastic. I still think the A30S is a really solid phone, even as you start to push it a bit harder with more apps and games. And if you're thinking about getting the A31 strictly as a performance upgrade, maybe if you go with 6 gigs of RAM, you might get the boost you're looking for, but I don't know that that's really worth it in the end. These phones are pretty close when it comes to performance, and I don't really think jumping to the A31 is worth it in this case. A couple other things to note: neither phone has wireless charging capabilities, neither phone has any waterproofing or IP rating, and neither phone has any upgraded speakers, just the one single one down below, so no changes with any of that stuff. In regards to the cameras, again, this is where we see some interesting upgrades, although I do still think the A30S is a pretty capable picture and video taker. This phone has a triple lens setup, which consists of a 25 megapixel f1.7 aperture main lens, an 8 megapixel f2.2 aperture ultrawide camera, and a 5 megapixel depth sensor. The A31 has a new quad camera setup, which is made up of an upgraded 48 megapixel f2.0 aperture main shooter, the same 8 megapixel f2.2 wide angle lens, the same 5 megapixel depth sensing lens, and a new 5 megapixel macro lens for super up close photography. With both phones having basically the same shooting modes, no 4K capabilities, but HDR, Pro mode, and a couple of other things, the advantage is still going to fall with the A31 for two reasons. First off, the upgraded main camera lens and improved internal specs allow for each picture and video you take to take in a lot more detail. You're going to get just sharper images and videos overall with the A31 every single time. And you've got one additional shooting mode, macro, on the A31, so if you want to shoot something really up close, you can do that too. While the A30S, I think, still has a good camera setup altogether, Samsung put a lot of effort into upgrading the setup on their 2020 A series lineup, and with the A31 in particular, you get, I think, the best value camera setup across the entire lineup now. Up front, it's a similar story. The A30S offers a 16 megapixel f2.0 aperture selfie camera, while the A31 has an upgraded 20 megapixel f2.2 shooter. And once again, like I mentioned, the big thing you'll notice is detail. With this quick example here, you can easily see how much sharper everything looks, especially in my face, and that stems from the better lens and improved internal specs and processing power with the A31. All in all, I do genuinely think the A31 has a noticeable and worthwhile camera upgrade all around when compared to the A30S. So here are my final thoughts. The A30S is a weird phone and honestly probably shouldn't exist as it is. It's like sort of an upgrade to the A30, but not really. And when you compare it to the A31, I think all in all, the A31 is the far better buy. If you don't have either of these phones yet, go for the A31. It's the better choice for the money, especially since these phones are so close in price. If you already have an A30S, maybe you just bought it, or maybe you bought it when it first came out, if you're happy with it, that's fine, but the A31 I think is going to be one of the few new 2020 A series devices that's genuinely worth the upgrade over all of last year's similar A series phones. If you can make the jump, I'd recommend it, and looking ahead, maybe later in the year, around the holidays for example, if you have the A30S, the A31 is still definitely going to be a good purchase if you want to wait a bit longer to upgrade. So there you go, that's everything you need to know about the A30S and A31. What do you guys think? Is the A31 a worthwhile upgrade? I'd love to know your thoughts, of course, down below in the comments. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys later.